Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be doing another really quick video just going over the latest 2024 polling. As you can see at the moment, Kamala Harris, she isn't the official nominee, but most of the donors are starting to go towards her, and I think she will be the Democrat nominee for sure, almost 100%. Now, I do think she is going to play a little bit more bigger role than Joe Biden would against Donald Trump. But again, we're going to have to check out the current polling and see where each swing state is standing at the moment. Now, we're going to start off with Donald Trump's safe states. These are going to be the states that he won big time in 2016 and in 2020. We'll start off with Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, North and South Dakota. We're also going to give Nebraska at large with its first and third districts, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Iowa, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Alaska, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, and Maine's 2nd District. Now, I did fill in Iowa, Ohio, Florida, and Texas. All 4 of these states went to Donald Trump in 2016 and 2020. Now, the polls did underestimate Donald Trump. They said Joe Biden was ahead in 2020 in Texas and Florida, but Donald Trump ended up winning these states, and we could possibly see the polling even underestimating Donald Trump again in these states, and I just see no possible way Kamala Harris is going to pull off any of these 4 states this year. Now, if we start off with Kamala Harris' safe states, these are the states that I just think are way too far to the left for Donald Trump to win this year. We're going to start over here on the East Coast. I think D.C., Maryland, Rhode Island, Delaware, Massachusetts, New Jersey could be close. We'll give it a little, not a safe, but more of a likely. I think it is more of an in-play state. But I definitely see, due to its recent past trends, I definitely think New Jersey is going to go to the Democrats this year. Connecticut, Vermont. We're also going to give the state of Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington, and Illinois and Colorado. Now, Colorado is getting a little close, same with Illinois maybe, but again, I think these states are way too far to the left for Donald Trump to even possibly pull off this year. They could be about 5 or 6 point wins. I saw a poll in Colorado where Donald Trump was losing only by 2 points. But again, we're just going to give it to the safe just because I think Kamala Harris is going to win these states no matter what. And also with New York, I think this one could also be in play. Kamala is only up by 8 or 9, but Joe Biden won it pretty big in 2020, and the polling usually underestimates the Democrats in the state, so I am going to give it to Kamala Harris. And we're also going to give Maine's 1st District to Kamala as well. And we're going to start off over here in the South. We're going to start with Georgia with its 16 electoral votes. As you can see, Georgia was one of the closest swing states in the 2020 election, and at the moment, they do have Harris up by 1 point. This is sponsored by the Democratic Party, and if you know me, I try to tend to stay away from polls that are sponsored by Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever they're sponsored by. I usually just take non-biased polls. Now, Bloomberg does have Bloomberg does have Harris and Trump tied dead even. But again, if we go to the most latest trends, it does show Donald Trump up by decent margin in the state of Georgia. Now, Harris could be making the state, trend a little bit more to the left. But I think due to even in 2020 with Joe Biden's big year, he barely pulled off this state. So I definitely think Donald Trump will win this state. More of a maybe 3 or 4 point win in 2024. Now, if we scroll up to North Carolina with 16 electoral votes, Donald Trump did win this state in 2016 and in 2020. He did win it in 2020 by, only about 1 or 2 points. But again, it has went to Donald both times. And as you can see in the most latest poll, even with Harris, Donald Trump's still leading, anywhere from 2 to 4 points. So I definitely think, just like Georgia, he will also win this state. And if we go to the closest swing state this year, in my opinion, Virginia with its 13 electoral votes, I definitely think this state is very interesting. It has had a past trend of voting for the Democrats, but I definitely think Trump has thrown the state into a complete chaos. I think it is completely a toss-up state now. And as you can see in our latest poll, it's just going back and forth. We had Harris up, for a little while. Now we're having Donald Trump up for a little while. We have 2 polls that show, even though this was Biden, it shows they are tied. But again, if we just take the most latest poll, and it does show Trump up by anywhere from 1 to 4 points. And I definitely think with Donald Trump's trend starting to grow more in these states, I definitely think Virginia is a very possible win. Now, I'm not going to give it to Kamala. I definitely think Trump's going to win it. Very, very small, even maybe a point or even less than a point. I think it will go to Donald as a tilt Republican state. And if we come up to Pennsylvania, one of the biggest swing states this year, this state is very interesting. It usually votes the exact same as the Rust Belt, Wisconsin and Michigan. But if we check out the most recent poll, we can see that even though this poll was sponsored by the Democratic Party, it does show Trump was up by 1 point. Now, again, I'm not going to be taking that just because it's sponsored, even though Trump is up by 1. But if we come over here and take this poll, it does show Harris. But if you scroll down, we see the most trends. We can see the state is very back and forth. 1 minute it has Trump up by 4, and then the next it has Harris up by 4. Now, due to Donald Trump winning the state in 2016 and with his support starting to grow, and as you can see, there are a lot more Donald Trump polls where he is up. I definitely think Pennsylvania is in play this year big time, but just like Virginia, I think Donald Trump might win this state by 1 or 2 points. And if we come up to New Hampshire with its 4 electoral votes, this was a state not too long ago that everybody was talking about, just like Virginia, Minnesota, and New Mexico, that might be in play for Donald Trump to win. It was one of the biggest swing states possibly. And now that Harris is the nominee, that has completely flipped. You can see in the most recent polls by Emerson College, it shows that Harris is up by 6 or 5 points. Now, even though the polling might underestimate Donald Trump, I definitely think Kamala Harris is still going to win this state. Donald Trump has never won the state of New Hampshire. Even in 2016, he won it very close, or he almost won it very close to Hillary, but she ended up winning it. So I definitely think New Hampshire at the moment is a likely Democrat state, but we'll have to keep an eye on it and see if the polling gets even closer. And if we come up to Michigan, another critical battleground state, we can see in this state, the polling is just going back and forth. Trump was up by a solid margin, almost a point, and now Harris has completely flipped that, and now it says that she's almost up even 2 points in the state. And if we scroll down, we can see in the most recent poll, it does have them tied. This poll was, I don't even know, maybe Bloomberg has a little, more of a Democratic bias. I personally believe that, because how the hell do you have Harris up by 11 or 12 points in the state of Michigan? Michigan is just like Pennsylvania, will be a very close state. But holy crap, this must be a huge outlier. I'm not going to be taking these polls. That is tremendously huge for Harris. And I definitely think, now down here, I do believe this one, Trump versus Newsom, maybe up 10. That could be a little biased. We don't really know. But definitely Harris and Trump, the two candidates for the 2024 election, I do not believe Harris is up 11 or 12 points. I think if we come down here, this one is sponsored, so we're going to take this poll where it does show Trump up by 3. He is starting to grow a huge lead in the state of Michigan, and I actually do believe that. I can see Michigan going more of a likely state for Donald Trump. And if we go over to Wisconsin with its 10 electoral votes, this state was another huge critical battleground. And I definitely think with Donald Trump almost winning the state in 2020, Joe Biden only won it by, I think it was less than a point. But you'll have to maybe check me on that. But I know it was very, very close. And as you can see in the most recent poll, it does show Harris up by 2. Now, this is interesting because I definitely think Donald Trump's support is starting to grow a lot more. And I think with he almost winning the state in 2020 when Joe Biden had his big year, that does show a lot of Wisconsin voters are trending to the right. But again, if you go to the most recent poll, it does show Harris up by 2. So again, since we're taking the most recent poll, I will give this to Kamala Harris as a lean Democrat state. And if we go over to Minnesota, Minnesota is very interesting. I think it's going to be another very close swing state this year, just like Virginia and possibly New Mexico. But again, if we take the most recent poll, it does show Harris up by 10. Now, again, I don't believe that. Survey USA, I think they could have a little bit more bias, but I don't believe Harris is going to win the state of Minnesota by 10 points. There's just no way. Joe Biden only won it by like 8, I'm pretty sure, in 2020. But if you go down here, I think she will win the state. I think it's going to be very close, but there's just no damn way she's going to win it by 10 points. I can believe 3. I can believe maybe 4 or 2 points. So I am going to give it to her, just like Wisconsin, but there is no way I don't believe that she's going to win by 10 points. But she probably will win the state of Minnesota by 2 or 3. Even with Donald Trump's current trend starting to trend in these swing states, I can definitely see her winning Minnesota more than Virginia or possibly New Mexico. Now, I keep talking about New Mexico, so let's come down to it. As you can see in the most current polls, you can see, even though this poll is sponsored by the Republican Party, you can just see the current trend in this state. Biden was up by 11, then it went all the way down to 8 and 6. and now it's down to 7, 2, and 1. Now we do need more polling in this state. There isn't a lot, and I think that's due to it just being not really a big state. It only has 5 electoral votes. But again, I think it could be a possible state that Donald Trump pulls off this year, especially that the fact that a lot of Hispanic voters are starting to trend towards the right. I definitely think New Mexico could possibly swing to the Republicans this year. But again, just to be safe, I am going to give it to Kamala Harris, more of a likely lean margin for the Democrats. And as you can see at the moment, Donald Trump has already won the presidency. He has 298 electoral votes. All you need is 270, and Kamala has 220. Now we're going to go over these West states real quick. If we go over to Arizona, we can see that, again, Kamala hasn't really had a shot. You got the Bloomberg polls that I think are a little biased, where it shows Harris up by 2 or 4. But if you look in the most if you look at the latest trends in this state, all the way back, by the beginning of this year, you can see Donald Trump is winning the state in almost every single poll. These polls do show him up by 5 or 8 points. I don't personally believe he will win it by 8 points, but I can definitely see him winning the state of Arizona, just like Georgia and North Carolina, maybe anywhere from 2 to 4 points. We come up to Nevada. Nevada is very interesting. The Democrats have won it both times in 2016 and 2020. But Donald Trump could possibly pull it off this year. The polling is definitely more favoring Donald Trump, as you can see in the latest trends all the way back in July. It shows Donald Trump up by 5, 3, 7, 10. I don't think he will win it by 10, maybe not even 7. I think the state of Nevada will probably go just like Arizona and Georgia. But again, we're going to take the most recent poll, and as you can see, it does show Trump up by 1. So again, with all the trending too going towards Donald Trump, I am going to give the state of Nevada to the Republicans as a likely margin. Now, if we go to our districts, I really don't have many polls coming out of the districts. So if we start with Nebraska's 2nd district, Donald Trump did win it in 2016, but Joe Biden did win it in 2020. Now, with Kamala Harris's growing support as well, I definitely think it will die down as we get closer to November. But I think Trump's support is starting to grow more and more. I don't think Trump will win the 2nd district. I think Kamala will win it by just a tilt margin, just due because it's a lot of college voters are here. But I definitely think Trump does have a fair shot, but I'm just going to give it to Kamala just to be safe. And same with Maine's overall election. Maine is a state that is trending a lot to the left lately, so I definitely think I'm going to give the overall vote to Kamala in the state of Maine. And as you can see, this is what the final results look like. We have states like Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina going not safe but likely Trump states. And then the Rust Belt is in chaos, with Wisconsin going to the Democrats, but Michigan and Pennsylvania going to the Republicans. And Donald Trump starting to make a push in the more swing states like Virginia, Minnesota, and New Mexico. And even in New Hampshire, we'll have to keep a close eye on it. Same with New Jersey. I did see some polling in New Jersey come out where Donald Trump was up by 1 or 2 points. But again, due to the past trends, I just see no way that this state is going to go to the Republicans this year. But here's your final results. Donald Trump has 315 electoral votes, winning the presidency against Kamala's 223 electoral votes. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.